Is having lack of clarity in your life haunting you right now, making you feel anxious, even depressed, and you want to change your life around starting today? Stay tuned for this episode of Spirit Lift. Monique, it's really a pleasure to speak to you on this episode of Spirit Lift. Speaking to so many people recently, unfortunately, there's this overall heavy weight of feeling stuck of what to do in their life, right? Whether it has to do with a job, a family, a relationship, like even just trying to move the next piece forward on the, let's call it the checkerboard in their life, right?
Right.
People just really feel overwhelmed. It's just maybe the overall stigma and the news and the idea that we're always in the state of fear, and that leads to anxiety and depression. It's just, it can be overwhelming really for the mind, you know? So I want to speak to you today on this episode because it's so important to especially bring clarity and empowerment and confidence to people to understand that despite what's going on outside of you, that we can harness internal tools to really move forward. So I'm curious, because you spend a lot of time on tarot reading, Reiki practicing, and let's just explain to our viewers, why did you want to get into both of those areas personally, and a little bit about your story? What interested you in general, just to start out?
Yeah, sure. So I got into tarot and Reiki because I wanted to help people. I felt that they were tools that can help you kind of find your power, but also help you release any blockages that might be kind of getting in the way of you living your best life. For me, I grew up in like a very Catholic family. So for a lot of my life, I did kind of block this stuff out just because I was told like, oh, you shouldn't be into that. Oh, it's bad. But I always had this natural calling for it. So once I started exploring with it and kind of using it, I found that it actually was a very helpful tool that wasn't like bad or anything like that. And I first took I had a Reiki session from somebody. And after that Reiki session, I was able to release the blockages that I had from growing up being told that all of like this stuff is bad. And I cried for a whole day, and I was like, I don't want my family to think I'm a bad person. But after that, I was like, you know what? I'm not a bad person. And if I'm using this to help people, then what's the big deal? So for me, Reiki and tarot, because I wanted to initially go in and just do tarot. And for me, it was very empowering because I learned and I realized that if I have a gift, why should I keep it hidden, I guess, from the world, or not use it to help people, which is my initial goal, just because society or, certain religions or even people in my family might view it as bad. So that's kind of like why I got into it initially and my story behind it. But I think that Reiki and tarot have helped me become more of who I am than I've ever been in my whole life. I'm more confident, I'm happier. And I would say in my time of really embracing everything, I am an overall happier person. And I know that I'm making an impact and helping people live a better life by doing it.
What is it about tarot specifically that helps, like it did for you, bring clarity and direction in your life? Because I think after so much research and personal experience and connection, etc., ultimately it becomes, for me, like Devin, it comes down to what my overall state of being and energy connects with. What is it, especially with tarot, that has led you to this sense of calm, peace, direction, and certainty with your life?
Sure. So for me, tarot is like a tool, the same way that people would use I mean, it's maybe weird to say, but like a rosary, but it's like a tool. Maybe not the rosary, but like a Bible or the Torah, the Quran, like it's a tool to help guide you. So I still identify with the Catholic religion. That's how I grew up. That's what I know. So like, I do believe in like God and like angels and stuff, but it's brought me closer, I would say, to those entities because I connect through spirit guides. And so I've had to really build my relationship with like my spirit guides or my spiritual team in order to be able to, I guess, connect with the cards, because in reality, the cards are just pictures on a card. But you have to kind of grow within your own intuition and form this relationship with whatever you're connecting to, I guess, to read them. I don't know if this is answering the question.
No, it is.
But
because I want to kind of lead into what you're saying with that, which I think is really important, because what I think a lot of people want is to reach an answer, right? Like, I wanted the answer to this. Why the meaning of life? Why do we have these kind of problems? What's going to happen after? You know, like we're as humans, we're desiring so deeply for the answers, right? It's always about the answers. Give me the answer, you know. With the work you do, I think you can help guide, in my opinion, to the experience to make it more fulfilling. Would you say that with the work you do?
I would say that, yeah. So like one of my main goals is to help people find their power or to empower themselves. And that's in any and all situations, you know, that could be regarding their work life. It could be relationships. It could just be like, maybe they're feeling depressed, you know, or maybe, you know, like we're living in like a global pandemic. So while we're experiencing all these negative vibrations on the outside, how can we help ourselves feel better, or almost not always look at the negative things going on, instead finding gratitude. What this really sucks that there's a global pandemic, but I'm alive today, right? I have a roof over my head. So it's just kind of about being thankful for the little things. And, you know, you still, yes, of course, still being aware of what's going on, still being compassionate, but using your own power to improve your life, if that makes sense.
No, of course. So can we explain in a, well, quote unquote, sense practical way? Like if someone comes to you and say, hey, Monique, I want to have this reading so I can feel a little bit more confident, empowered, have more clarity in my life. Like how's the way you approach them with that, and how do you guide them?
Sure. So I read the cards kind of based on what the card meaning is. So I might pull a card. So if they're like, hey, I'm feeling not the best right now, how can I find my confidence? So I have like a little ritual, and I usually light a candle, and I ask my highest spirit guide to connect to their highest spirit guide. And essentially I'm a vessel, you know, and I'm just delivering the message from their spirit guide. And maybe they're like, okay, so they ask me, how can I feel better? Maybe I pull a card and it's the 10 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups, it's really about like the happy family or like happy endings. So if I were to pull that card after them saying that, then I'm going to tell them, you know what, like things are going to work out for you. Maybe they're questioning if they're on the right path. That card's going to almost essentially be confirmation that yes, you are on the right path. Usually for, you know, things that they already know deep inside, but maybe they're not trusting their own intuition. Maybe they're asking about their career, and the cards come out intuitively. I really feel like I'm being divinely guided. It's not necessarily me, Monique, pulling the cards. It's Monique being led by their spirit guides, Monique being led by her spirit guides to help this person get the information they need. Because in reality, I am a human, Yes, I'm intuitive. Yes, I trust my intuition. But at the end of the day, I'm getting my information from source. So I use that information to help guide me. I use my spirit guides to help guide me. And I guess in reality, I'm trying to help people trust their intuition and listen a little bit closer to their spirit guides, because I feel like there's so many outside distractions, or maybe we don't even realize it, but almost even societal, like we're taught to not trust ourselves or not trust our own intuition. And if I can help you trust your own intuition by pulling that 10 of Cups, then I know I'm doing my job.
And what I'm interested in, especially too, and I think what our viewers would be interested in know as well, like some people seek astrology or numerology, which I personally like a lot for myself. Like, what led you to that specifically versus those other things?
I don't have a specific answer for you. I mean, I'm into astrology and stuff too, but I just had a calling for it and I trusted it. At the end of the day, I've always been curious. My whole life, I grew up like really curious about it, wanting to like go to psychics and stuff. And it took me, like, there is a psychic who I talk to. She's like someone I trust and value. And she really helped me understand and realize that I had a potential that I could do this too. And she doesn't do tarot specifically, but I just have always been drawn to tarot. And I feel like it was for a reason. So I picked it up and I studied the cards. I practiced with like my friends mostly, some for like my husband. And when I was going like off of the book and stuff, it was right. But when I started trusting my intuition on what the meaning was for that person's question, then the answer was like even better. You know, it was a better connection. So I wasn't like researching or doing anything like that. I just felt intuitively called to tarot, and I trusted that feeling, and that's kind of what started it.
And when you say trust that feeling, I mean, a lot of this goes back to this idea of intuition. Why, I mean, for me personally, like it's been something that is a daily thing to do and to lean into. It's almost like, I don't want to say habitual, but because I don't want to label it that way, but it's, you know, there is an internal, seems like, source in which you rely on to get you through the day, each and every day, because it's like, you know, I don't even look at my days. I don't even look at my life so much on this trajectory of like, okay, this year, next year, 5 years. Yeah, all those plans are important. There's certain things to keep in mind.
Right.
You got to almost just get through the day to be okay. Right. So relying on that intuition has become, it's a personal journey to understand that too. So when you speak to people and they come to you and they're seeking these things out, do you really kind of lean into that idea of intuition and how important it is?
I do, because for me, it's like how I went so long without trusting my intuition, and it really takes time and it takes practice. And it takes almost going against yourself for you to step into it. But once you do, your life is completely changed. And yes, I still sometimes...
Sorry, Monique, explain that a bit more. In what way? In what way, especially for you personally, because I think our audience would be really interested to know that. Like, how, for you personally, did your life change, and in what ways, like, gradually, incrementally, and even daily?
When you trust your intuition, you're choosing yourself. You're not letting outside people or decisions for you. You're choosing what's best for you. So, for example, somebody might send you a message on I don't know, for dating. They want to date you, but you just have this like really bad feeling about them. Something just seems off, but maybe on paper they're perfect. And you go on a date with this person and they end up being horrible, they've got a billion red flags, but deep down, I should have trusted my intuition and you could have avoided this whole night. So, I think it's just learning to listen to that little voice. It's learning that little nudge that we all have, because I feel like as humans, we're all intuitive creatures. Some of us just know how to access or listen to that intuition a little bit more. Maybe you've grown up feeling one way about something, but your group of friends or family or society tells you you're wrong, but you've always felt something inside you that it's different. And then you grow up and find out, that maybe doesn't align, like the things that you've been told your whole life don't align with reality. So I think it's just, you're learning to, I don't want to say stand up for yourself, but it's just choosing yourself and making yourself a priority.
Do you think you made up to now, like with having all this experience and knowledge, so to speak, have you made really the right decisions you've wanted for your life? And do you feel more empowered with like your direction overall? Like, would you say that for yourself?
I do now, but in the past, I would say no. Mm-hmm. But once I started, trusting my intuition and choosing myself, my life is a lot happier, and I feel like it's headed in a direction that I could have never dreamed of, but it's bigger than my wildest dreams. Before, I was looking, like, for an example, I never knew what I wanted to do growing up, because I always felt like I had to do something like standard, so I was always in jobs that I didn't love. When in reality, this job that I love and that I naturally excel at was never an option. But had I just listened to that intuition and said, your family doesn't agree with it, but you love it, you're good at it, so do it anyway, then I could have, spent so many more years, really perfecting my practice instead of wasting time at places or in situations that didn't serve me. And so now I look back and those times kind of sucked, but at the same time, I learned a lesson. I learned that I do need to choose me to be happy. And now when I give readings to people, I can also use that experience a little bit to help guide them, to help show them, like, if you don't choose yourself, if you don't make decisions for you, how will you ever be happy? You have to prioritize your time. You have to prioritize yourself in all situations. Yes, you could ask me like, is this the right job for me? And at the end of the day, if you trusted your intuition and you selected the right job, then yes. But I think a lot of people, one of the biggest things that I feel when people come to me is a lot of their issues stem from them not trusting their own intuition initially.
Right. And it always starts with the beginning of how you really feel about it to make the right course of the outcome of the decisions in your life thereafter, right? Like it's always about the beginning, because if you get stuck at the beginning, it can be that much harder after, Monique, I'm curious to ask you, like, what, with the direction you've taken with your life and the way in which you help people now through tarot reading, through Reiki, have you personally become maybe like overall more empowered, confident, mission fulfilled person for your own life that you feel personally? Or and also, are there certain things that you want to discover more about yourself and your own development that's important for you?
Yeah, so I do feel overall I do feel more powerful and confident. I think though that it's a daily struggle. I'm not perfect. I do sometimes feel self-conscious, or like things like that, like any normal human would. But as a whole, I do feel more empowered. I growing up was very like timid and like never wanted to like speak out of turn or, be confrontational. But now I feel like if I don't agree with something, within reason, I am willing to stand up for myself more, and I don't let people push me around as much as I used to. So I did find a power within, all of this. Reiki is pretty new for me. So like I feel like I've learned it, I've taken the courses, and I'm still learning, even though, I'm certified to offer it and stuff like that, but I'm still learning, I guess, and I'm new at it. So I feel like I still have the time to learn that. And I don't know what else I want to continue to grow in as far as like my spiritual practice. And I continue to grow, whether that's just spending more time meditating, doing things like, being in nature more, and kind of finding my path as I go. I don't want to necessarily like put anything in stone or say like, oh, I have to do this to be more spiritual, or I have to do, whatever. I want to kind of just go with the flow day by day and go to where I feel called to. So right now I feel the most called to tarot and Reiki, because I feel like for me, they have both and maybe that's something I look into in the future. But again, I don't want to like set anything in stone, because I don't know where I take it necessarily, and I want to leave it all, I guess.
No, that's incredible. So you sound like your journey's really like all of us, continually developing, continually unfolding, and just really trying to enjoy the process more than anything, right?
Right.
But, I think thing is, like, it seems like, I don't know, we just try so hard with life. What I mean by that is like, it's always about, this thing and that thing and this person, that thing, and blah, 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 blah. It's just like an over, just over amount of noise, that just really, in a way, has nothing to do with a real purpose. I like, what I'm trying to say with that is like, again, going back to a few years ago, having had a personal experience in a very still, silent moment on a personal level that happened to me, it was like, I almost felt like everything was revealed to me at that time and had nothing to do with the actual journey of what I experienced of my life up until that point, which is so bizarre to even conceptualize.
Right.
But it becomes almost really the most lasting thing that has for you, because it's almost like, you just got to step back from everything sometimes. Whatever you decide to put your intention into, you got to embrace it with some sort of gratitude, And just to conclude this incredible conversation, Monique, I want to ask you, and just to leave to our viewers and listeners, what is it that, there's so many things that maybe people can do or not do to really start changing their life around. What is, maybe in a very practical way, like insight from you that you could give to our viewers and listeners of something they could start tomorrow when they wake up, or today? We're recording this at night. Whenever, as soon as they can, what can they do, really, just some very practical things to really change their overall state of being around, to know and understand that you can really do what you want to do for your life and enjoy it in the process.
Sure. So I guess 2.5 things. The first I would say is love where you're at. You know, you have to, in order to attract more abundance or happiness, you have to be thankful and happy for where you're at now, because there's blessings and beauty in every day. Find one thing, be thankful. The second thing, the 2.5, I guess, the second and a half thing would be prioritize yourself and prioritize your time. Because if you don't make yourself a priority, who else is going to? And you have to show up for yourself every single day. It's not always going to be easy. And sometimes you're going to feel like you're going against yourself. But sometimes in order to grow and take that next step in your life, you have to do it.
I'm gonna tattoo that on my head, or with a marker or something. You know,
yeah.
Start with yourself every day. I love that. I've never heard it like that before. I think it's pretty awesome. Start with yourself every day. I'm gonna write that down. I don't want to forget that personally. So I think that's a great thing. Valentina's saying hi. Say hi, Valentina. But I think that's a really, really great. I'm gonna note that down really quick. Sorry. For our podcast listeners, I'm noting down what Monique just said. Start with yourself every day. Okay, so everyone listening right now, watching on YouTube and other platforms, start with yourself every day. Write that down somewhere. Put it on a Post-it note. Tell your accountability partner that you want to do that every day and make it a priority. Monique, I love that phrase. Let's end with that. Thank you so much for being in this episode of Spirit Lift. And where can our viewers and listeners find out more about you, connect with you, your work, everything?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is _moonmama_magic. And I also have a website where you can book a reading. I sell like a few little products. And that is moonmamamagic.com. But really the best place to connect with me is going to be my Instagram.
Excellent. We're going to make sure to include all of your information in our pinned comments, this video description, and all the notes and all the postings all across every platform. So please connect with Monique. Turn your life around today. She can really, really give you an amazing path forward. So make sure to reach out and connect with her today. Monique, thank you so much for being on this episode of Spirit Lift.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Thank you so much, Monique. And we will see you all in the next episode. Take care, everyone.